Hey, it's Dan. Welcome back. You're watching iAllegedly. And I've got a good one for you today, covering a tough subject. And that is, what do you do when disaster strikes? Seriously, what do you do? Well, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and we'll get right into it. Cellcom. Cellcom is a phone company that operates in two states, Michigan and Wisconsin. It's got 100% coverage in Michigan. It's got 97% coverage in Wisconsin. And they're offline. They've been offline since May 14th. And you can sit there and say, oh, wow, I heard about that. You know, they finally got texting back up. They're trying to get um, their voice up. And this is a disaster. Very little communication at first. I'm at the zoo right now. You guys can see the coyote walking around. Here's the thing. We don't know anything about this. People have written me and don't have cell coverage. What do you do? Think about this. Think about this. The man that wrote me didn't have any way of communicating, but finally got email out and said, Dan, I don't know what to do. You know, have you heard about this? Can you help us? Is there anything that can be done? And what's your plan? If you can't get anywhere, if you can't get to work, if you can't communicate with people, what would your game plan be? Now, we talk about banking, we talk about having separate bank accounts and things like that. I'm not saying to get two phone providers. I'm not leading in that direction. But what you have to have is a plan if something like this shuts down. Now, Cellcom, reading this, I was furious when this first came out because they went, hey, go to our X page, go to our Facebook page and get updates. And that's how bad it was. There was no communication with you guys. There was no way of sitting there and trying to figure out, how you get a hold of people. But think about it. That brick that you're holding in your hand, the only thing it's good for is a paperweight at that point. It's worth nothing. Can't communicate, can't text anybody. They finally got some texting up right now. And this has been a disaster because they just haven't been communicative during this time. As you can tell, I've been posting, showing you different things that they've been updating. The links are going to be below with how to get a hold of them, how to get a hold of their Facebook page, and different updates. And at first, again, like I said, at first I was very upset about this. Then the CEO, Bridget Reardon, steps forward, and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is going to be a disaster. I have to give this woman 100% credit because what she did was brilliant. What she did was what CEOs never do, and that is number one, she was completely honest. Number one, number two, she said, "This is between you and I. This is us. I'm talking to you," and this is what CEOs should learn how to do, and that is to be truthful. They were the victim of a cyber attack, and like she said, for everybody that's trying to take us down, we're trying to stay up during this time. And I'm telling you guys, this is the big problem when you own any technology company, is to try to stay one step ahead of the bad guys because they will shake you down. They will give you a ransomware attack. They will shut you down. They'll do it. Some people will do it for kicks. But this destroyed, millions of people without cell coverage right now, without a way to communicate. Some banks don't work. Some online internet services don't work as a result of this. This is bad. But again, this woman deserves a gold star for this. Not because she solved the problem yet, because of her complete transparency and honesty and what to say. So, eventually this will come up. You have to have a plan for something like this. And again, I was talking to both my kids this morning for another reason I'll tell you about in a second. And what do you do if something goes wrong? Do you have a place to meet? Do you have a place to communicate with something if there's a major disaster? Now, your cell phone going down, you can get to the neighbor's house, and while they've got a phone line still, because Mildred's 150 years old, you've got to have a plan. You've got to have a plan on how you get email service, how you would be able to communicate with people. Who would you communicate? And I get people that go, man, you're just a big conspiracy theory guy, and you're just really trying to scare people. No, this is the example. What would happen if you didn't have cell phone service? Well, it's happened to these people, okay, for 6 days now. Okay, that's enough. It's enough that they can't do anything. Okay, so get a basic plan. The plan would be where you'd meet, who you'd communicate with, who's going to talk to everybody else, who's going to let relatives out of the state know that you're okay. So think about that, guys. That's where you begin with a plan like this. I've had other idiots online out here that have made fun of the fact that I have these security plans because they don't involve a howitzer and I don't have, a Gatling gun in my backyard pointing at everybody. Okay. Well, it's not going to help you with the cell phone. You understand? So you get the gist of what I'm saying. Have a plan. This is the exact reason why you have to have that plan. Email gets corrupted. Everything is down. There's no way to communicate. This man wrote me by borrowing an email account. Okay? Enough. Now, the second thing I wanted to talk to you about is, again, what do you do if disaster strikes? And, I have, been in business decades. And whenever I consult with anybody, we always talk about, your suppliers and having one place you do business with, and this is the main contact and things like that. What happens if you lose that? Seriously. And a lot of people don't want to deal with that. Now, my son gets up, gets this wild hair a few years ago, and decides he wants to move across the country and not live in California and go to school outside of the state. Great. Looked at Maine, looked at Boston, looked at everywhere. Ends up going to Rhode Island. Now, because one thing that kids do today that they didn't do when I was in college was they go online to Instagram, and he found out who his roommates were going to be at the college and start direct messaging them and was saying, hey, I want to work at Starbucks and I want to go do this. And one of the kids that he was there was like, listen, dude, you don't want to do that. You want to make some real money. You want to go work at a high-end restaurant. So takes him out to a place called Matunuck. And he says, I know the owner, Perry, and I will get you an interview. And you'll be able to bust tables. You'll make some real money. So Grant does that. Grant goes out, gets himself a job there, and put himself through college from that place. Worked as much as he could. Bus boy to what they call food runner, the guy that brings out the food. Here's your steak. Who had the linguine? He did that. And I think it was voted the third best restaurant in New England, in that whole area. Okay, so but this place just did killer business. A year ago at this time, my son graduated from college, and I ate there.
Thank you.
Dude, this is insane. This is so beautiful. Well, last night, that place burnt down to the ground, okay? And 200 people lost their jobs. Isn't that terrible? Perry, the owner, just devastated. What do you do? What do you do with that? Now, I'm not telling you to have a second job. I'm not telling you to go there, but I'm telling you, 200 people worked at that restaurant. Think about how big that was. Like Grant said, he got messages from people that they graduated from college last year. They're flying to Rhode Island to live there for the summer just to go make the money and go do that. People rented houses. People going to move in with friends, and now the place is gone. And It's devastating. And I explained to him, I said, son, he's like, I hope he can get the place up by the end of the year. I said, son, you don't understand. This place was built on a dock in a different world, when you didn't have building codes, where you could sit there and expand and you could do what you wanted to do because, hey, we need more space out there. Let's take the rest of that dock. You can't build like that now. Look at Los Angeles. You think Rhode Island's any different? It's not in that sense, because they're not going to allow that thing to be built like that. The panther right there.
Hello, how are you today? There you go. Yeah.
So, but anyways, that's my point. None of us can prepare for that. And you have to have a backup plan. Save money, yes. These poor people that lose their job, what do you do with 200 people that lose their job because the place burns down? Seriously, I don't even know. Okay? But one thing I did was, I reassured him. I'm like, son, this is done. It's not, I don't know if you could rebuild that place on the water like that. You just don't. And it's tragic. And I really feel bad for, I really feel bad for his family. I really feel bad for everybody involved in it, because it's gone. But again, if the place you worked for was gone overnight, what would you do? What would you do? I try to tell people that you have to plan. And biggest problem I see with businesses is they go out and they rely on one place. And they tell you that they're doing good financially, but you don't know. You have no clue if they're doing good financially. So, unfortunately, you see people that just never plan for a rainy day. And it's raining in Rhode Island right now, I'll tell you that. It's raining in Wisconsin, it's raining in Michigan right now. But think about this. No cell phone coverage. What do you do? What do you do? Seriously, what do you do? What's your plan for that? The place you're going to work for is gone. Now, these are people that rely on the tips, they rely on the money, and he made a lot of money doing it. He put himself through college working at this place. So, it's very sad for this family, and for my family, for everybody involved. But this is the whole lesson of this stuff, is that we try to sit there and prepare ourselves, but when are you prepared for this? And people have construction companies, a big piece of machinery goes down, you finally get that job, you go out there, you start, and what happens? Backhoe breaks, can't get it. Thing that I got hit with last week is, a friend of mine's a drummer, and one thing I tried to encourage him to do was like, you know what, you got to go back to music, because music was spiritual for you. It was a place to let yourself go. It was a place to connect with other people. So this guy starts a band, and it's kind of ridiculous. But what happens? The the drum breaks. One of the bolts breaks. He's got to go out and order a new drum. But that's what you have to plan for. And I'm like, how do you? I'm not a musician at all, and from somebody that basically is almost married to one. Stuff's very expensive, but nobody plans on stuff like that. So, you have to have an alternative for everything. You just gotta have a backup, and you gotta have faith, and you gotta have faith that you're gonna be able to get through it. But you've got to be able to have a plan B on everything. And I feel for it right now. By the way, the person that wrote me back, his name was James. So James, I really appreciate you sending me the Cellcom story. And it's just a reminder for all of us that you've got to have some type of plan to communicate with people, some type of plan for a what if scenario if you cannot get a hold of anybody. The problem with it is, as we get older, I always tell you to go check on people, because people fall down, people get injured, people are ornery and want to be left alone. I had dinner with an attorney last night who was telling me, she was telling me how, just everything that's going on in the news. We were talking about politics and talking about everything, and how people don't want to take the advice of others at times, and everybody knows better. But, the older we get, the more independent people are. People don't want to deal with having to answer to anybody, but you've got to know where people are at, just to protect yourself and to make sure that they're safe and happy. So The zoo today is packed with kids. I came out here and was told that there were no camps scheduled, and they lied. I want my $2 back. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this, but I'm telling you guys, I just, Mr. Doom and Gloom, no, plan. Plan. The best of intentions, guys. But what would you do if you couldn't get a hold of grandma? What would you do? And again, my mom, we finally got her when she was living. We got her one of those life alert type of things, and it just gave us the peace of mind that she could hit that thing. We used to joke with her that we wanted her to hit it when we were sitting there with her to see what would happen. She never did. Okay, so if you've ever done that, I'd like to know what happens when you hit that magic button. So have a plan, guys. No one's planning on your restaurant burning down to the ground and 200 people losing their job overnight. It's devastating. And my son is very sad. And I explained to him, there's nothing you can do. You've got to not, he lives in Boston now. Do not drive there. Do not go there. I explained to him what's going on with the police, what's going on with the fire department, the investigations, and everything that's happening right now. And that you're never going to get down that road to see that place. You're never going to be able to comfort anybody other than what you can do online, which he's very good at. So have a plan, guys, for everything. Seriously, have a plan. See you soon.